Hey, welcome back to another episode of A Warrior Spirit, where we let the inner warrior shine in their light. Today, I have the pleasure of being with a good friend of mine, fellow entrepreneur, Elena Rodriguez. Elena is, we refer to her as Besitos, the lipstick coach. Her path didn't start in coaching, but her life took the twists and turns to get her to where she is today. Elena, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Daryl. It's so great to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah, Elena, you have a wonderful a light that just shines through you. Anyone who knows you or hears you or sees you, just your brightness just shines through. But I know that wasn't always the case in your life. You started your journey as a young child, but unlike a lot of people, you started actually in a wealthy household, yet still traumatic. Can you take us back to your family?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So it's me. I have one sister. She's 7 years older than me. So she was kind of like my mentor, not really a sister, right? But from as young as I can remember, my parents were entrepreneurs. They had businesses, and my dad was so smart and innovative, and one business grew. They opened another business. So I just remember seeing entrepreneurship, traveling. We would go to resorts and all the things. And I had a ruby ring in like first grade. Silly. I lost it on the monkey bars in the playground. And I remember having to tell my dad I lost my ruby ring. And I was so afraid to do that. But I'm thinking now, what does a first grader have, with the ruby ring? And my fifth grade kindergarten winter coat was a mink coat. And I just wanted to be like my friends that had the plastic bubble coats. And it was just too much, There was so much money. They didn't know what to do with it. I remember playing in their bedroom, and there was like a TV stand that you could push up a bottom drawer, and there were gold blocks,
Wow.
like the heavy gold, silver, and it was just money. But I didn't have a family. My dad would come home and bring the gifts because I wouldn't see him for days. My mom, was working, like they worked all the time. And it was just me and my sister. But my sister was older, so she was always on the telephone with her friends and doing the school things. And here I was.
What year would you say that would be? So we can
Oh
kind of get
gosh.
into context.
By the time I remember, I was probably six and 7 years old, where it was Chef Boyardee, the microwave, and those big cans of high C. Remember when you could pop the triangle opener? And I would get home from school and I would be by myself, and I'd get up for school, whether my sister woke me up or not, but I would walk down my lane to the bus stop. I just was by myself. And I would go to my grandma's on the weekends. I'd stay there during the summer sometime, but I just was by myself. So
you're looking about the 70s-ish, 1970s?
Yep. Okay. I was born in 74. So by then, about 1980.
Early 80s. Okay.
Yeah. So, the latchkey kid. That was the latchkey kid.
When latchkey was okay.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because a lot of your peers who didn't have money wanted to be you, wanted the fur coat. Like, we grew up with our ruby red ring was those big candy rings, right? Those little sucker rings, right? Yours was an actual ruby ring. And so it's interesting that money doesn't bring the happiness, whether and poverty doesn't bring the sadness. It's, it's just being where you are when you are. But you actually said that earlier that you actually ran away from home.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you?
So we had all this, and my dad he was an alcoholic. the businesses, they were restaurants, bar, the whole thing. So my parents were gone all the time, and it just became too much. He was an alcoholic. So they ended up getting divorced, and he left when I was probably 8. And I remember loading up the trunk with his things, not realizing that he was leaving from Indiana and moving to Arizona. Somebody forgot to give me that memo. So I thought I was just helping my dad move to the apartment across town, and he was literally leaving me. And so I flew out to Arizona a couple times. I was with him every so often, and I was a daddy's girl. So I did not want to be home, because once he left and the businesses dissolved, the money was gone. There was no money. And so you go from one extreme to another. So now my mom is working 3 jobs. So I still don't see her. My sister's older. She's driving. She's everywhere. And I met this boy. We were 14. And in the Hispanic culture, when you turn 15, you have a quinceañera. It's like your party. So he was my partner in my quinceañera, and he lived in Illinois. I lived in Indiana. He was in a band. That's how we met. He was the cool, bass player. But he had family. He had 2 parents that were there. He had brothers, a sister, cousins. Like, he had family. And, we would write letters, and we really would talk on the telephone, talk about raising like long distance phone charges back in the day.
Right.
He became somebody I attached to, because he was a friend and he was family. He was always there. So that's 14 going into 15. By the time I turned 16, 17, and I had my driver's license, the first thing I'm thinking is I'm driving to Illinois. So I would go there on the weekends, and his family was always together. They would play basketball in the backyard. They would eat together. I'm like going, this is what it's like to have a family. And then I'd go home and be by myself. And by that time, my sister was moved out. She was looking to be married. So I literally was like by myself. So it was my senior year of high school. And I'm pom-pom captain. I'm student council. I'm, all these things, doing my thing. And we're a couple weeks into senior year, and I hightailed it out. I ran away. I threw my bag through my bedroom window. My stepdad was home. I'll never forget. I climb out my bedroom window and take off, because I wanted family. And they were poor. There was like 12 people that, living in the same house. When it rained in our bedroom, we had to put pots on the floor because it was raining on our faces. And I chose that over this nice house that I grew up in that was empty. It didn't matter to me. And somewhere looking back, and I'm sure that many people have this that don't even realize it, but we all have our money hangups. We all have those attachments to money of some way. And it took me years to understand that I attached money with breaking up my family. So I was afraid of it. I never wanted it. I would rather be poor, because to me that meant then I could have a family and I could be happy. So it took a lot of work to realize that that was the situation. It had nothing to do with money, but that's what I experienced. I had it, I had all this, and then I had nothing. So such a complex of emotion. So I enrolled myself in school there through my senior year. And then I found out that I needed one more credit in PE in gym to get the diploma from that high school. And I already had like I said, I was honors, this and that. So I did come back home for second semester so that I could graduate from my high school. And as soon as I graduated, then I took off and I left again. And but it was family, and they were poor, and I didn't care.
you grew up in extreme wealth. You saw the entrepreneurial life, which, you know, allows that freedom because you're available for your own time and you determine your own money. But you also grew up with an alcoholic father. And in all that turmoil, did you ever turn to drugs or alcohol, or did you shy away
Yes.
because of it?
Nope, I sure did. Drugs, well, alcohol is a drug, but for
Right.
me, alcohol. And my 13th birthday was my first party it down, and I got sick in a strawberry shortcake trash can. And I was at my grandma's house. But my grandma was somewhere out of town. So I was with my older aunts, and some of my cousins were there. And I'll never forget, some of my younger cousins were crying. They were crying because they could see me getting sick and they didn't know what was wrong with me. And I was just drunk, and I was 13. And from 13, well into high school, my boyfriend's family, they didn't drink. But when I was by myself, I drank. And I remember having a conversation with my sister. We were out shopping for wedding dresses for her. And I remember sitting, I'll never forget the booth that we were eating lunch at. And I said, I think I have a drinking problem. Like, I drink to get drunk, and I will drink by myself. And I would go to school, come home, and have beers. I mean, it was, I saw my dad do it, and it made me feel better. It made me feel better. I didn't feel alone once I got buzzed up enough to like just kind of do my own thing. So it worried me enough that it's like, no, I realize I'm drinking to get drunk. And when we started getting that age in high school where friends were starting to drink, and I realized I can like drink everybody under the table. Like, I'm not even buzzed up and my friends are getting sick, you know, because they were just starting and I had been doing it for years. You know, it was kind of cool because I could hang out with the guys. You know, I was the one that could just like handle herself. But then it was like, yeah, this isn't cool. And I am at a place in my life today where I can enjoy a glass of wine, and, you know, I'm good. I don't need it. But there were years where I felt I did need it. And my life could have ended up very different. And my dad even warned me. Be careful, because he started drinking when he was 9.
So I'm trying to envision a 13-year-old having easy access to beer and alcohol without it being questioned, because obviously you're not buying it yourself. Somebody's supplying it to you. And if it's in the house, it's disappearing and you're the only one there. So like me as a parent, I'd be like, hey, that has to equate to my kid doing this.
Yep.
I wouldn't be replenishing the booze. I'd be like admonishing my child. Like that didn't happen.
Nobody was home. By then my mom was remarried, and they owned more businesses, still the bar business. And we, in the basement, we had like my real dad in the home that was built back when it was like this big home. In the basement, there was a built-in bar that sat like 9 to 10 people, like in your house. It's like this laid out bar, and with the refrigerator, coolers and stuff. And there was just always things going on. Like, there was always people bringing things. There was always, you know, playing cards, hanging out. So it just grab a beer. And like I said, I would travel to go to my grandma's on the weekends. My grandma drank. My grandma would go to the dances. She smoked, she drank, you know. She was a widow at a very young age. And, you know, she would just tell me that her husband taught her how to drink and smoke. And I think that's how she coped with. So everywhere I looked, there was alcohol.
Okay.
And it just was a thing, like
Easy access.
Easy
So
access.
And I'm trying to envision a 16-year-old or 17-year-old just traveling across country by herself to go see her boyfriend. Like the thought of getting in the car as a teenager by yourself and just, going a couple states over, that like the vision just baffles me. But did some of these emotions and alcohol and things, did they start to manifest in your body as well, in
Mhm.
physical ailments?
Yeah, for sure. Today I have autoimmune. I have a metal piece in my neck that I know was just from toxic. I've undergone 4 biopsies. The one back, I'm trying to think of what year it was, but I was in for for a CT scan of something, and they didn't find what they were looking for, but they picked up a spot on my liver. And at that time, it was like they measured it, and it was very small. But all of these things were happening, and that was that like slap in the face. Like, girl, like you've got to do something here. And when I met my husband, I've been married twice. So I met my first husband. And at that time, I was managing the bar that my stepdad and my mom had. I loved bartending. Like I said, when I was little, I played bar. All my friends were playing dolls and this, but I grew up playing office and bar. That's all I
Yeah.
saw. So I'm bartending and I'm loving it. And you party, you shut things down, you have your drinks, you sleep during the day, you're up all night. Like, man, it was great. And when me and my husband were talking about getting married, and I knew that I wanted a family, I knew I cannot do this to my kids. And so I got out of the industry, opened up a fitness studio. I still needed to be in the fitness. And so that was really, my children were really like the turning point in my life, because my boyfriend, the boyfriend that I had for like ever, ran away from home. He was my love, like all of these things. He got somebody else pregnant. And that just put me, I was drinking a lot. And then started working at the bar, started meeting people, but I was still drinking like all the time. And it wasn't until getting married and then realizing like, I don't want this lifestyle, because it's very easy to get wrapped up in. Everybody thinks you're great, and everybody's there to have a good time, and you can like buy everybody drinks, and it's fun. But I think having that desire to be a mom is really what saved me, because I could have very easily just drank myself to death, really.
But even in your turnaround, your children saving you, moving out of the alcohol scene, life wasn't done throwing curveballs at you. You had more experiences of pain and suffering. You talk about an experience in your bathtub where you had an epiphany. Now, first off, before I finish that question, has your faith always been strong, or did it get stronger as you moved out of the bar scene, because they kind of clash with each other as you're drinking and smoking and partying? I mean, not that there's anything wrong with having a drink, but the excess and the
my faith has always been there. The thing, like, my faith has always been there. And it's funny because I look back at pictures when I was little, and I was always the serious one. I was always the one that felt grounded in my place and was steady. Like, I just was always that presence, and I never understood it. I always could hear things, or I always had a deeper understanding into people. And that was from very little. And I'll just, I look back now and think, okay, I've always been this vessel. I just didn't know it. And when I started going through the drinking and my boyfriend getting somebody pregnant and all the trauma, like, I kept going back for more. Like I would go back hoping we would have another chance just to get treated like crap, right? And so there were times even then in my teens where it would, like, I'd open up my Bible and, you know, I'll never forget, one of the things I read was everything happens in this life at the time God chooses. So I always went to my God. I always went to my faith. But what I learned through my chaos and my mess, he was always there, but he's given me the gift to be able to talk to real people. You know, I don't quote Bible verses. Doesn't mean that I don't read them, but that's not my way. And so being in the bar business, seeing all the messed up people, you know, seeing the alcoholics that I would serve every day, the clockwork, I had their drink ready because they came in every single day. Those are real people too. And they need their God too. And he's just given me this ability to relate and speak his words in plain Jane form. And so he's always been there, even from when I was little. I was the cousin that all the cousins would come to when they needed wisdom and guidance and that sounding board, you know, I always had it. So, yeah.
So you're married, you have children, and you're going through some more pain, and you're sitting in your bathtub and you hear a voice. Can you tell us that?
Yeah. So I had been married and then divorced.
Okay.
So my two sons, their dad were divorced, and I had remarried. And I had remarried with a really toxic, it was a really toxic relationship, but he came into my life when my real dad died. So I can now look back and realize I saw all the red flags. I saw everything beeping, but I didn't care because I felt like that 8-year-old little girl being left all over again. And I just wanted somebody there, right? So the relationship was horrible. It just was. It was from the beginning, and I didn't even care. But I was in my bathroom one night. I had had a neck surgery. Like I said, I have a metal piece in my neck. And I literally was silenced. Like God had cut my throat, you know, like, so I couldn't even talk. And I just kept hearing, you're going to write a book. You're going to write a book. And I am thinking, no, you know, I don't even like to read, you know, at that time. And so I really thought God had the wrong person. And I'm like, yeah. And so I'm brushing my teeth. And I'm having that conversation again, like, yeah, whatever. And then I hear him say, you will write a book. It will be called Broken Stronger. And I had already heard his voice two times. So this is the third time in my life I've heard him speak. So I knew what was happening, and I'm in front of my mirror brushing my teeth, and like toothpaste just starts like running because I just froze. And then I bawled because in that moment, he was flashing like a movie trailer where it was like a snapshot, picture, clear back from a little girl. And it was all these moments of pain, you know, watching my dad drive down the lane, you know, finding out my boyfriend had gotten somebody pregnant, you know, my dad dying, my stepdad dying, like I lost both dads within 2 years. And it's like just all this pain, being alone. And I saw it all. And then it's like and I felt it all. I mean, I'm just sobbing. And it's like he swooped in and just carried it off. And then he let me know that all of that was to show me how strong I am. That was my journey. Those were not by accident. So I had been chosen for pain. And I didn't know what was going on. You know, all I knew was he said, you will write a book. It will be called Broken Stronger. Then he let me see all my moments of brokenness, and he took the pain away. So I come out that bathroom and I'm like, I texted my sister and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're never going to know what's happened. And I Googled the name, thinking, is it taken? And of course it wasn't. He gave it to me. So I trademarked the name, not knowing what I was going to do with it. I just walked in faith and I'm like, okay. And little did I know, like I was hop, skipping and jumping, all around there. And I had certified for coaching. And at the time I was a corporate leader. And I was like, no, I'm going to coach. I'm going to help, people heal and all these things. Like my mind was going a million spots. So I left my job. I left my corporate job. It was a good job. Like the money was great. I was a leader. And my husband at the time owned his own business. So I was like, I'm not going to work. I'm going to start my business and you'll support us for the year while I get things going. So I leave the job, host my first retreat, and 8 weeks later, he had a heart attack. And then he died on Christmas Eve. So I'm out of a job, don't have a functioning business quite yet. He was his business. It was bleeding money out left and right, and everything was gone. So there I was again with nothing. And that started everything forward. And so that's really the beginning of my Broken Stronger journey. I thought it was for everything before, but God was making space for everything that he knew was coming my way. But I knew no matter what, I would get through it because he already showed me my strength.
And you had a secondary twist on that, because life isn't done slapping Elena around a little. Not only does your husband die on Christmas, you find out secrets about that life that you had with him, right?
Yeah, it started right away. Like he passed away. Then I discovered like all this debt I didn't know about. He handled all the finances. So I just always gave everything went in the pot, and there was no pot. There was no life insurance. He had bought property somewhere thinking that was going to be the retirement or what we would have. And that had to go in auction. I didn't get a dime. I had nothing. So all of this is going, I'm losing everything. I find out that there's a loan in his name on my house. So the bank won't even talk to me. So I'm like, I have nothing. And we went into COVID. And 9 months. So I felt like I felt like Rocky in the ring. It's just like, hit me harder. And I'm like, okay, my God, I'm just going to keep going. Like, I don't know what's happening here, but I trust and I'm going to walk in faith. It was 9 months later. So we're talking, he died on Christmas Eve, not until that following August. The last piece was I discovered a 5-year affair. And there was no denying it. It was in my face. And for me, I just thought that was the blow. That was the knockdown, because I value commitment. I still do. I think it's the most beautiful thing. And so that, out of all the money can be replaced, homes can be bought, but that was the one thing that was taken from me, and I didn't have a say. And I couldn't even ask any questions, and like none of it. And for a minute, I asked God, why? Why show this to me now, 9 months later? Like, what am I supposed to do with all this now? And like I said, he speaks to me. And so he said, stop wasting precious time asking questions you will never receive answers to. And that just blew me away. I repeat that now all the time, because it changed the momentum and the direction of my life from that moment. I knew that I wasn't going to get an answer. My husband was dead, and who could I be mad? I mean, it's like, what do you do with this? So I chose to pray for the woman. I knew who she was. I never brought it up. I never mentioned her name, but I chose to pray for her, because you can't spend 5 years with someone and not feel their loss. And I wondered, whose shoulder did she cry on? How was she able to grieve if she was the secret? So I actually prayed for her because my heart hurt for her, because I knew how toxic my husband was. So I don't know what lies she was fed, right? So I had to forgive, and I had to just forgive. But that changed the course that I use even to today. Stop asking questions you know you won't receive answers to, because we waste so much time and energy in that space and there's no return on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a blessing. And now I look back and I think all of the things that unfolded and all of the loss and all of the pain, God laid it down gently. You know, if I'd have found out about the affair right away, on top of the money, that would have just been too much. I don't even know how I would have been able to do that, but it allowed me time to heal through each phase and accept that my life was really a lie. That last piece, he waited to show that to me. And that's why today I talk about it. I talk about it because there's so much healing that I needed to do. And God also let me know that forgiveness is not enough. You have to love them through it.
That's important.
And that changed. I mean, that put the bounce in my step again, because I love my husband that's died. I love the woman he had the affair with. I love all the people that have hurt me. I thought I had forgiven my dad for leaving me, but you know what? I love him through that too. So it's like I cover everyone in love, no matter what, because God said forgiveness is not enough. And that's why you say I radiate, you know, I truly love people.
But you did, through your brokenness, write your book, and you started a nonprofit to help others. Can you tell us a little bit about your after?
Yes. So I wrote the book Broken Stronger. Okay. I started that book just weeks after he died. And I look back and I think it's probably not the book that I wanted to write, but it's what I needed at the time. So really,
it's funny because you said you didn't even want to write a book. So now when you say it's not the book that I wanted to write, it's like now you're all into the writing.
Now it's like, I kind of am a writer.
Right.
Well, maybe God didn't make a mistake after all. You know, I have a way with words, and who knew? I didn't. He did. And because I do remember saying that when I was brushing my teeth, and he said, you will write a book. It will be called Broken Stronger. And I remember saying, okay, I'm going to walk in faith. Just give me the words. That's all I said. And so the book is actually, like, in the process, it's called the mariposa effect. So mariposa is butterfly. So the butterfly effect, you know, you break through that cocoon and spread your wings and fly. So I did write the book. And then for me, it was, there's got to be more. You know, I've got to do something with this pain, because pain is so powerful. It has the power to lift you higher than you ever imagined, or it has the power to hold you down for the rest of your life. Like, pain is that powerful. And I thought, I'm not staying down. These are things I've gone through, but there's purpose in it. And so the Christmas Widow is what I started to help newly widowed families and their children at Christmas time. Now, that is slow taking. I realized how much money it was taking from me, and I have a family I have to take care of. So that's coming along. It's there. It's in motion. And then I created my lipstick line. And people are like, how did you go from like coaching and author and speaker and all of this to like lipstick? And the last piece of losing everything was the home. I did lose the home. And I remember thinking, what's worst case scenario here? You move back in with your mom. Am I proud at 40 some years old to pack my kids up and go live with mom? No, but I knew, like, if that's worst case scenario, you'll be okay. So I did lose the home, moved in with my mom. And one of the nights I'm on the recliner sifting through Facebook, and I came across a memory picture of when I had that surgery, when God was talking to me. And it was like so raw. You know, you've had
Yes,
surgery,
I've had
day
surgery.
2, and I'm in pain, and but by God, I still got up and I put my lipstick on. And it just made me realize that even through all of it, the physical pain of the surgery, put my lipstick on, but even when I'm a new widow and I'm discovering these lies and my confidence is shot, self-esteem non-existent, I wanted to crawl in a hole and die myself, but I would still get up and I would put my lipstick on because it made me feel put together. It represented, I can do this. That's what it represented to me. And so me being the creative entrepreneur that I am, I've always loved lipstick. And so I thought I could make some, and then I'm like, my mom will kill me. This is her kitchen. So I just started researching. And now I'm 2 years into that business, and we're around the whole United States. And but it's about painting your smile. It's about wearing your confidence in color. So being a businesswoman, I coach, I have events, but it's all tied back to my lipstick. And that's why I call it Besitos, because it's like, there are days you don't want to smile. There are days that you don't even know if you could, if you tried, but I guarantee you get up and you put some lipstick on, you will. And that to me is what it represents. So it's all about coming back, all about making that come back.
It's funny because my grandmother was almost 101 when she passed, and she was still quilting 2 weeks before her death. But every day she would put it on her dang lipstick.
Yeah.
Every day. Yeah. And
that's what it does for you. I mean, for not for everybody, but
yeah.
if it's your thing, it's your thing, and you get it. So yeah.
Well, you've lived a beautiful journey. You survived your traumas. I don't know that your journey is quite done, because there's a lot ahead of you. But if you were to give one piece of advice to those who are trying to get through their own mess, what would your message be?
Number one, it is stop asking the questions that you won't receive answers to. And we know what those are. We know what those questions are, the ones that we replay and we're hoping for a different answer, or we're hoping for the reason. There are some that you will never get that. So stop asking those and start asking yourself, what was this experience for? What can I do with this forward? Why was I chosen for it? Not why me, but why not me?
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you can make that shift and stop sitting at the pity party camp and start being grateful that you are here and you had it, as hard as it was, whatever experience that was, you were chosen. And there's purpose in that. And, so when I talk about walking in faith, it's looking at these moments in gratefulness, knowing it might take a while for the answer to be revealed, but by God, then that means something beautiful is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, if there's anything that I can share with anyone, is to take that pain and realize that there's something beautiful happening in that moment, whether it feels good or not. And trust the process.
I love that, because when I help my clients and we talk about the butterfly effect, the transformation from the caterpillar to the butterfly, everyone talks about that phase of it. But what they don't talk about is that the caterpillar actually has to go into their darkness, dissolve their entire being, and then reform into an entire new entity. Like, it's not just a simple go in, go out. It's a mess in that cocoon that then blossoms out into the beauty, right? And not enough people want to acknowledge that the mess is creating the beauty, right? So I love that you think that way, and part of your journey. One final question that I ask all of my guests. You're part of my warrior spirit tribe, and I love having you. What does a warrior spirit mean to Elena?
Ooh, warrior spirit. It's funny that you asked that, because people have called me a warrior when they saw me going through like beat down upon beat down, and I'm still showing up with my smile every day. And I never quite understood, because I just felt like I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing, right? So I think that warrior spirit is knowing with humbleness that you are gearing up and you are walking into the fire. Like, that warrior spirit says, this is going to be hard. This is going to be excruciating. This is going to be a road of unknowns. So let's go. Because that other side, it's more beautiful than you can even see. And you know that. So that warrior spirit to me is, it's going to be hard. You all ready? Let's go do this. And that's really it. Like, there's no secret. There's no blueprint. There's no path that anyone can follow, because we're all on our own. But that warrior spirit that unites us is the one that says the journey is so worth it, and you find the joy in it, whatever it carries. And those are my people, right? Daryl, you're one of those people. So when you came up with that name, I'm like, that's beautiful. Like, I envision a horse just running through that fire, and that to me is what it's about. It's knowing that it's going to be hard. It's going to be a mess. You're going to get bruised. You're going to get banged up. You're going to have tears. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to be dirty. Like, I just feel like crawling through it, and you're like, yeah, let's go.
Do it.
Yeah,
because there's something beautiful on the other side. And I think it's
Absolutely.
our obligation to bring as many people through it as we can.
Yep.
So,
And for those of us that have, I don't think you're ever done. Whatever level, there's always going to be something new. But for those of us that have already gone through and we're here, it is our responsibility to guide those just starting, or that don't know how they're going to make it, to just say it's okay. You will be okay. I got your back. I'm here for you. And I think that's part of it too.
well, I love who you are, and I love the light you bring. We'll drop some links, so if people want to reach out to you and either chat more or touch base or even paint their own smile, they can do so by contacting you. So I appreciate your time today. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and continue to shine brightly, my friend.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.